सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। The fourth mantra of the second chapter of Mundakopanishad. Agnirmurdha chakshushi chandra suryau Agnirmurdha chakshushi chandra suryau Dishashrotre vagvivrutascha vedaha Shrotre vagvivrutascha vedaha Vayuh prano hridayam vishvamasya Vayur prano hridayam vishvamasya Padbhyam prithvi hesha sarvabhutantaratma Prithvi hesha sarvabhutantaratma. There are many descriptions through our scriptures which describe the first expression of that Supreme in the form of Virata. Virata, the first blueprint of how this entire creation should express. The entire cosmic samashti put together expressing in the form of Virata. So, again I would insist on those two words to understand this better, that whenever we talk of the expression of Paramatma in the form of this universe, it is not that there is a certain material which he has and he has been using that material to create this universe. In creating anything in this world, there needs to be these following components. One, we need the material. Then we need the instrument to mold that material into the form that we want to bring it in. And the last one, the intelligence to use the combination. So, the material cause, the instrumental cause and the intelligent cause. So, when these three things come together, you can create something. For example, there is a lump of clay. That lump of clay by itself cannot turn itself into pots. You need the instruments. Just having the instruments is not sufficient. You need the intelligence to use that instrument and the material in a proper combination to bring out the right texture of pot. I was at somebody's house and it was fun watching, because they had just purchased a bread maker. So, bread maker, because you do not need to have the various intelligence to use oven, or you just throw in everything and push the buttons and it will bring out the bread. That is the concept, I was told. And it was their first experiment. So, I was also excited. So, I watched them, they had a recipe. So, they added the flour, they added the milk, little bit of yogurt, salt, sugar, yeast. They added everything into it, and then they turned the button on. After 3 hours, the room was smelling really good. But when we pulled that thing out, it was what I could put it as a black charred charcoal, which can be termed as a toxic waste. And surprisingly, the outside was all dark in color, but the inside was still not baked. So, they must have done something really wrong. It is not that the instrument is at fault, the instrument is as important as the material that is to be used. And how much that material has to be used, what kind of material to be used, what mode that instrument has to be used in, the intelligence is surely at work. There was this old, very old, it is called BEL, Bharat Electronics Limited. They do lot of research and they have these very sophisticated instruments. And one of my people that I had known, a very elderly person, he used to work for them as a consultant. And suddenly he visited into the town and he called us, he said, I am coming, they will surely provide me for a hotel stay, but I would like to come and stay with your family. So, he came down and he went to the next day to the job, and from the job he came. It was a 10 minutes or 20 minutes job, and then he was back within an hour, hour and a half he was back. And he said, this is the most sweetest deal, that for those 20 minutes that I spent, I charged them 1.5 lakhs. So, as he was talking, the manager for that BEL called him up, and he received the phone call. He said, can you please explain, he was very decent in asking, can you explain your bill as to why did you bill so much? He said 150 rupees for the screw, and the rest is to find that was the exact screw which was missing. Meaning that intelligence has to be there to identify which exact part is not functioning or functioning, how to use it, what to use, when not to use. So, we need these 3 different causes: the material cause, the instrument cause or instrumental cause, and the intelligent cause. Whereas, in Paramatma creating this universe, all 3 put together is the Paramatma himself. So, who is the material cause? Paramatma is the material cause. What instrument is he using? He himself is the instrument. And he himself is of the nature of consciousness, so expresses himself in this plurality. So, he is the material, he is the instrument, and he is the intelligence. So, you take Vishnu Sahasranama, there in Vishnu Sahasranama it is said, Kshiro dhanvat pradeshe shuchimani vilasat saikate mautika nam. This comes in the Dhyana Shloka. So, the Virat Rupa of Bhagavan Vishnu is being described. In that description, they say that bhuf padau yasya nabhir viyad asura nilas chandra suryau cha netre karna vasham sirodhyar mukham api dahano yasya vaste yam abdihi. The same concept which is being given here in these 4 lines is the Dhyana Shloka in the Vishnu Sahasranama. The entire Purusha Suktam is nothing but these 4 lines as though expanded. As a very funny way that, or a very poetic way that it starts. Sahasra Sirsha Purushaha Sahasrakshas Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishvato Vritva. And many painters, they attempt at it to draw the Virat Purusha. You may have seen the half attempt of the painters to draw the Virat Purusha, because the same concept is given in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, wherein he says it is Vishwarupa, Vishwarupa Darshana. So there also Sahasra Sirsha Purushaha, that Virat Purusha has thousands of heads. Now there Sahasra does not mean 1000 heads, it is called thousands of heads, meaning many. So the painter starts with the big head of Vishnu, and then the 5 avatars this side, 5 avatars that side, and then it goes like this in a shape. And at the very end, if you look at it, very indistinct painting. Sahasra Sirsha, Sahasrakshaha, definitely there are that many eyes. Sahasra Bahu, multiple hands. So far the imagination had come handy. Where does the imagination go wrong? Sahasrapat. Now imagine, go figure. 1000 feet. How do you draw 1000 feet? It becomes so disproportional. So Gurudev very beautifully puts it, he says, it does not mean that Virata Purusha has 1000 heads, 1000 eyes, or thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, thousands of hands, thousands of legs, but all the innumerable heads, hands, legs, eyes which are functional in this world, it is the expression of that Virata alone. And to that Virata, Agnir Murdha Chakshushi Chandra Suryo. His head is the heavens, or the upper space. Murdha. The sky is his head. Chakshushi Chandra Suryo. His eyes are the Chandra and Surya. Now if you start imagining, you close your eyes, his head is like the sky. Can't imagine that. His eyes are the sun and the moon. Okay, you plug the sun and the moon, put it there, add into the equation. Dishaha Shrotre, the directions are his hearing faculty. Vedas are his speech, or whatever he speaks is learnt by us as the Vedas. The air in this space is his prana. Padbhyam Prithvi, the feet are his, or this earth are his feet. This gives us a very confusing picture. Now when a poet starts describing that, there are various pieces, and suddenly my head is flooded with the different examples. So if I can suddenly scan through them and pick one. the description of Sita ji. The first time when she saw from the balcony as described, she walked into the balcony and first time she saw Ramchandra ji. This was before the Swayamvara. Before that entire episode, Ramji had just entered into the city and many people had started talking. There is this handsome young man, an equally handsome brother. They are walking through the streets and they are right at the palace. You can also see. So Sita ji ran. When you run and then you suddenly are coming into the public view, then you suddenly slow down. And from that slow down gait that which she was walking, that Gajagamini, these are the words used. Gajagamini, the gait was as if it was the delicate steps that the elephant takes. It has a swing to it. What in today's world they call it as the catwalk. The cat can't walk. Or Hamsagamini, the gait of the Hamsa, as the swan would walk. See, when you watch the swan or a duck or each one has their own kind of gait. Most elegant one. It does not mean that it is like an abusive word. Gajagamini, क्या मैं हाथी जैसे लगती हूँ क्या? If you imagine that simile that was taken was to show the delicateness in that move rather than the size of it. And her eyes, Meenavat, fish, don't translate it as fishy eyes. The shape of the fish, so beautiful, such were the eyes of Sita ji. So when all these descriptions are given, you don't instantly replace them. The eyes like a fish, so you draw two fishes. Walking like an elephant, so you draw something very huge. It doesn't suit. It is a poetic way of expression. Similarly, here, the entire world that we see is his head, because the entire space is where the world exists in. And what is this entire world illumined by? How do we see? In three different sources of light: Surya, Chandra and Vidyut. Surya, the sun; Chandra, the moon. And in the olden days, in the scriptural days, probably what they meant by Vidyuta is lightning, but I don't mind translating it as electricity conveniently. So, different sources of light that illumine are the eyes of that Virata Purusha. Dishaha Shrotre, the Dig Devatas are the ears for that Virata Purusha. And the speech that expresses is the Vedas. Vayuhu, the air that flows, is the breath of the Lord. Hridayam Vishwam Asya. He is the very core of this entire universe. Here, Hridayam can be meant as Antakarana. This entire universe is nothing but his Antakarana. And the feet which provides the stability for him to stand is the earth. And this Paramatma, who is expressed in this way, he eshaha sarva bhutantaratma. This Virata Purusha is the one who has expressed himself as the core of every species that you can come across. Not just human beings, any kind of species, any kind that which exists. See, some of the religions, they say that only human beings have soul. The rest of the creatures don't have a soul. And that is their justification for anything that can fly, swim, crawl or walk can land on their dinner table. Why? We are not killing it because they don't have soul. There are many religions who believe that. And it is only the human beings that they have a soul. But in Hinduism, it is not just that we restrict it that the human beings have soul, but all creatures are enlivened by this principle alone. Further, an act of subtlety to understand that it is not just that which is mobile, but that which is immobile, that which is insentient also is an expression of Paramatma. I was once with a sculptor, had to stay with him, and he was gracious enough to accommodate us in his house. So, we had to stay there for 3 days, during which time he taught, or he was speaking quite elaborately about the sculptural art of the various temples. One thing that he mentioned, which I learnt, was that the stones also have gender. That there is masculine stone, there is feminine stone, and there is a neuter stone. And my inquisitiveness was, how do you identify a masculine stone versus a feminine stone versus a neuter stone? I said, you tap on them with a fork, tuning fork kind of an instrument, and the vibration that it makes, you can identify whether it is a male. The more baser it is, I think it is the male stone, more higher note or pitch, that is the feminine stone, and that which has a very bland kind of an expression probably is the neuter stone. So I asked, why do you have these kinds of differences? He said, all the devas, the sanctum sanctorum, the main altar god, and the various Prajapati and Dwarapala, all these gods that are carved, they are carved from the masculine stones. All the goddesses, they are carved from the feminine stones. The rest of the structure of the temple is carved out of the neuter stones. Starting from the stone up until the human beings, Paramatma expresses in different formats. So, everything that is nothing but the expression of Paramatma. See, the abhyasa of this is very easy to speak about, but very difficult to practice. Every single particle, every single being, every single thing, every single time and space that we exist in interacting with, what is it that we are interacting with? Today, our belief system, our conviction is that the entire world is at my disposal for my utility. there is that note of swartha involved. From this swartha we have to grow to the level of paramartha, to reach to the level of Paramatma. How do we do that? That conviction has to change, that everything that I am dealing with around is nothing but that Paramatma, and it is my fortune moment to interact with that Paramatma in this kind of the form. When that conviction intensifies, can I be imbalanced in my interaction with the world outside? It is not with respect to how the world will treat us. It is with what conviction I treat and interact with the world as. That every aspect that I am interacting with, every living moment that I am interacting in this world is nothing but that Paramatma alone. Why? Yeshaha sarva bhutantaratma. He is the antaratma, the core of existence. And that very reason why, that in our Hindu way of life, we respect and revere every aspect of this creation. Is there anything in this creation which is not respected by a Hindu? In fact, when you read Ayurvedic, Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, these texts, not that it is a necessity, if you read it, one beautiful aspect there, he says, there is not a part of this creation which can be alienated, saying is useless. Every part of this creation has something beautiful to offer to sustain the delicate balance of existence. There they are talking in the perspective of medicine. In fact, there was this great Acharya called Nagarjuna, and he, it seems, used to run the medicine or medical school with hundreds of people as his students. Like he would be addressing and teaching hundreds of them as batch by batch. And his challenge or Guru Dakshina was that go scout the entire world that you can travel by foot. Make sure after a year we come back. What do you call that? Reunion. Alumni reunion. We'll have a first year reunion. And at that time, I would want the Guru Dakshina from all of you. Now, what is the Guru Dakshina? Get me a part of this world which you think cannot be turned into medicine, which you think is not useful for maintaining this balance. It can be a ore, it can be a metal, it can be a tree, it can be a sap, it can be a bark, it can be the root, twig, leaf, flower, bud, whatever you can find that you can lay your hand on, wherein you have made a conclusion that this cannot be further used. It does not stand any purpose. And his trail was, the purpose was very beautiful, that these students who have learnt, before they start experimenting on the world, they understand the world, appreciate the world, and also research as to what various things are available around, not just stuck to what is being taught to them, but open their minds up. On the other hand, his Guru Dakshina was so intense a demand, and it has been noted that he did not receive a Guru Dakshina until he died. Because there is nothing in this world which cannot be used as a medicine. So, every aspect of this creation has the beauty to offer this balance, and that aspect of Paramatma is what is expressing, maintaining that balance. Sad and also a great opportunity. Because we have that opportunity, it is also a sad situation. The opportunity as human beings that we have is to break this pattern of creating imbalance. The rest of the world, the rest of the creatures in this world maintain that equilibrium. Who is it that breaks that equilibrium? There is a species called Homo sapiens. They break the equilibrium. And why is it that they break this equilibrium? It is because they have this freedom of choice. With this freedom of choice, we can understand, assimilate and firmly abide in this core of our own being. But instead, we also cocoon ourselves, bind ourselves in various layers of unreal convictions, and we get stuck in what is called samsara sagara, samsara arnava. Arnava, it's as huge as an ocean. That is where we are stuck in. But when we realize that every aspect that I am interacting with is nothing but Paramatma. You observe from the morning that we wake up till the evening that we sleep. See, as soon as we wake up, what are we taught? Karagre vasate Lakshmi. And you start with the remembrance of the Lord. Before you step out of your bed, touch the earth. You are the mother who has been sustaining us, and with our feet we will be trampling around, but still you sustain us with such patience. O Mother, my humble prostrations to you. And then as we are taking shower, Gange che Mune cheva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidhim Kuru. While we eat, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam. When we sit on the asana, we do namaskar and then sit. When we take the holy book, and that in fact any book that we take is a holy book, because it is knowledge in its expression. We revere, respect every aspect of it. It has been drilled deep into our texture of our culture. To respect that value, that every expression in this universe is nothing but Paramatma, and that reverence is inbuilt into our culture. Not understanding this beauty, many the neonatal intellectuals, meaning अभी जिनकी बुद्धि विकसित हुई है, what do they challenge? They say, I am not for these rituals, However, that ritual is trying to teach us appreciate this subtle aspect, which is making it ingrained in our day-to-day system. Everything that we do, we have been taught to view it in that perspective alone. Water is sacred, earth is sacred, air is sacred, fire is sacred. The space that we live in is sacred. And everything that we start with the lighting of the lamp, invoking the presence of that Paramatma. Why is it such deeply ingrained? So that our convictions are changed. Rishis are very smart people, I tell you. Don't get carried away by their physical appearance. Locked hair and lambi dadi muchi. They look like cavemen, but they are the smartest people around. They made it a regular, rigorous process of day-to-day living, so that this aspect is ingrained as a conviction into our system. I'll give you a small example. How often do you go to India? 2-3 years once, on an average? How many days do you go to India for? 15 days to 30 days, a month? How many places do you visit in India? Almost 5-6 places on an average, I am guessing. Each place you are spending around 4-5 days. And every place you have to visit at least 40-50 families. So you start your scheduling. Morning this person, evening this person, afternoon this, late in the evening this person, late in the night. You have the entire schedule. Any time of the day or night that you enter anybody's house, it is ingrained in the system. What is the first thing that they will ask? Depending on what time you have arrived, nobody ever says, it is lunch time, खा के ही आए होगे? It is lunch time, you must have had already, already have had your food. No, the first question is, please join us for breakfast, please join us for lunch, please join us for dinner. If it is not breakfast, lunch and dinner, थोड़ा सा चाय, थोड़ा सा कुछ, some snack. When you are visiting 30-40 houses one after the other, after a while that you see chai and then you say, Nare Baba. If I drink chai, I will not be able to sleep for next 5 weeks. So much chai has already gone into my system. But what is the basis of all this treatment? That anybody who steps through our door is Athiti Narayana Swarupaha. That Athiti is nothing but Paramatma at our doorsteps. And hence therefore I would offer my hospitality to that form of Paramatma that has come. Hence therefore nobody who comes into the house leaves the house without taking something at least to eat. Remember Kathopanishad? Athithir Brahmano Grihe me Trisro Ratrihi. 3 nights that this Nachiketa slept without accepting hospitality. Even Yamaraja was shivering. He said, Bhaiya, maine kya galti kiya hai? Please take some Athitya. So, he was also very clear. I came to meet you, you were not there, and whoever else was offering, it was on your behalf. I did not know if they were offering it on your behalf or not. So, best bet was I wait for you. I said, as a prayaschitta, I will give you 3 boons. 1 boon for each day for having not taken care of you. That is a prayaschitta. It has been ingrained into our system that anybody walking through our threshold, feed them, because it is the least thing that you can do is feed them. Why? You are feeding Paramatma in that form. That was those days. Today, there is no concept of Atithi. In fact, they are now called, Atithi are called gate crashers. Hey Rama. Party crashers, wedding crashers, gate crashers. And it has become a part of our etiquettes. बोल के तो आते, ऐसे ही टूट पड़े. You should have at least informed, They are so welcome that they don't need to inform. Any time is fine. And now, in order to come, they have to call. In order to call, they first send a email. Swamiji, what time will you be free to call? Why? So that in the call I will ask you when to come. See, the basic structure, the texture of our living was to bring us back to this core of our existence. Everything we did, we were taught how to do it, was to bring our focal point to this Antaratma, core of our own existence. Sarva Bhuta Antaratma. From that Virata, what happened? The next mantra. Tasmadagnis samidho yasya suryaha. Samidho yasya suryaha. Somat parjanya oshadhaya prithivyam. Parjanya oshadhaya prithivyam. Puman retas sinchati yoshitayam. Puman retas sinchati yoshitayam. Bahvih praja purushat samprasutaha. Praja purushat samprasutaha. Tasmad agnihi samidhayah yasya suryaha. From that Virata came the Surya, and that is why even Surya is called Surya Narayana, the expression of that Paramatma in the form of Surya. See what an amazing creation that has been expressed. Right at where we are on planet Earth, it is such a sweet spot of distance from the sun that it has a balance of heat and cold. Any farther away from where we are orbiting, we would have been facing disastrous cold. any closer than where we are orbiting, there would have been no scope for the atmosphere to have oxygen in it. And it is with this radiance of the sun that we have the entire rain process, the cycle of rains. We have the entire plant kingdom nourished. Now, what would have happened without that sun? So, from this Virata Purusha, Surya, Somat Parjanyaha. See, the sun evaporates and the moon condenses, and they maintained this creation in a perfect synchronized balance. How much rains, how much snow, between Surya and Chandra, they have created a perfect balance. Now, because there is that rains that fall, see the beautiful name for the rains, or the clouds are also called that, Parjanya, Parjanya, Parijanayati, that which is the cause for varied kinds of things to flourish, and that is why the rains are called Parjanya. Without the rains, can we have a crop? In my glass house, there are no rains, Swamiji. I only water. The point is, you have to water, right? Paramatma's natural irrigation system, that he has rains. And that too very well, beautifully timed and spaced. Parjanya. With that Parjanya, what happens? Pruthivyam oshadayah sambhavanti. From the earth, oshadayah, oshadayah, herbs. Different kinds of herbs are born. They sprout forth. Somat Parjanyah, there is another meaning, a little different meaning, a twist to the entire sentence is, without the sun's rays, the plant kingdom does not gather its herbal essence. You may have heard of it, that in our scriptures they talk about Soma Rasa, and very harshly we interpret it as an intoxicating rasa. And there are so many words from Sanskrit which have been adapted into Oxford Dictionary. One of the first words that was accepted was Soma. Right? It is described as an intoxicating liquid beverage for the gods. What does Soma mean? Moon. Somat rasaha, that rasa, the rays that are coming from the moon, which give the entire plant kingdom its essence of herbal nature. It comes from the moon. According to the Ayurvedic Shastra, the potency of the herb depends on how many full moon cycles it has been exposed to. That is also a different science. All these herbs, what kind of climate, what kind of weather, what kind of exposure to sun, what kind of exposure to the moonlight, what kind of waters, what kind of soil that it has to be sown in to generate the maximum potency for that particular herb. And one of the key ingredients that you find often repeated in the Ayurvedic scriptures is, even after you pluck that herb, it is dried not in the sun but in the moon's light, it will maximize its herbal strength. Somat parjanyah oshadhayah prithivyam. Now, fed by this kind of food that we get from the earth, puman retaha samprasutaha, the seeds from the man, which are laid into the yoshitayam, into the woman, which again gives birth to the same kind, so that the species is maintained. Bahvihi prajaha purushat samprasutaha. So each one of these aspects which are explained, the entire cycle that has been set in motion from the samashti to the vyashti. The samashti is the net total of the vyashtis, which are the individualities that are here. So this vyashti, that individuality, is like the Visphulingaha Sambhavanti. Where is that Visphulingaha? 4 mantras ago, when we started with that example. Oh, did we? If you check back on the first mantra, the first mantra says, Visphulingaha sahasrashaha prabhavanti. As the fire emits different sizes of sparks, all with the radiance of that fire, similarly, this individual level expression is the expression of that Virata alone. But after having from the wholesale expressed in the retail variety, there is a certain added extra detail that gets into the picture. What is that extra detail that gets into the picture? Though the mantra does not state it, just for our thought to find a closure, the extra detail that gets developed is called E-G-O. Whose? Our own. Because the entire cycle of creation is not yet complete. There is a different sequence being explained in the 6th mantra. As I see that when the mantra is chanted, are you feeling it difficult to chant that lengthy sentences? Okay, let us break it down into smaller portion. Tasmad richaha samayajumshi diksha yagnascha sarve kratavo dakshinascha samvatsarascha yajamanascha lokaha somo yatra pavate yatra suryaha. Tasmat, from that Virata alone, Rik Sama Yajumshi, the Vedas expressed, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and the Atharva Veda, they expressed. He is an amazingly sweet God. After having created the universe, He also released such a beautiful manual to function in this creation created by Him, which does not require extensions of corrections in it. after every book is printed, at the end if you look at it, so there is a page or two, I do not find it in this book, I do not know if you have it in the new version, a page or two which talks about all the misprints which they could not correct. But by the time they got to those misprints, one page extra can be printed and that is supplemented. But in the entire Vedas, no extra addition to be necessary to be made, no deletions required to be made from there. See, every word, every syllable used is optimized expression. So, Rik, Yajus, Sama, Atharva, they are the manuals guiding us to function in this creation. Then, Dikshaha Yagna Sarve Kratavo Dakshinascha. From him came the Diksha, the regulations. See, back in India, when we used to conduct Balavihars, the class was supposed to be the Diksha. When you stay Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, you are taking a Diksha. That next 1.5 hour, you will focus on this particular aspect alone. So, that Diksha had certain regulations. Now, what are the regulations? That we are supposed to sit straight, do not need to correct yourself, just mentioning, we are supposed to sit straight, have the sattvic nature completely focused. A cultural shock. I arrived 2002 July 28th. July 4th weekend there was a camp in Chicago. I was asked to come there. I go there. I was given 4th, 5th grade. Even today when I remember it, my heart sinks. I go sit in the class. These children after Sahana, as soon as Sahana, Shanti, 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 you're tying. Everybody is lying down, somebody. I was like, ho kya raha hai? Class hai kya hai? What exactly is happening here? I had a cultural shock. So there was another Swamiji, our Swamiji who is in charge of books, Swami Siddhananji. He looked at me and he saw, I know what you are going through. Ignore their part of not having that diksha of sitting straight or trying to look into your eyes while you are speaking to them. You speak because they will grasp. I tell you, that camp in my entire 20 years of being an acharya, that camp was the biggest failure in my opinion, because I could not communicate a single word or a concept to those kids, because I had my own mental blocks. And I like, batho. I was getting so, and then there are those people, Swamiji, when you say that we have to meditate in a certain asana, can we meditate in shavasana? अब बैठे बैठे नींद लग जाती है भैया. Sitting straight, people go into rocking world. In shavasana, you don't need to say anything. नींद तगड़ी अच्छी लगेगी बस. So the regularity, the regulations that are given around, I am just taking, if meditation, sitting posture, while eating, use your right hand. When serving, there are certain regulations. And that regulations are called Diksha. Whenever regulations are given, we resist. To any rules and regulations given, we have such vehement resistance. Why? Because we feel our freedom of choice is lost. But these regulations are provided so that our freedom of choice can be cherished. You all drive, right? What side of the road do you drive on? I am not asking a trick question. Right side? No, here. In America, we drive on the right side. In England, you drive on the left side. In India, you drive on both sides. Actually, there is no side there. On YouTube, you will find some funny videos about the Indian crossroads, the traffic on Indian crossroads. You will be amazed, you will be laughing at it. There are 15-20 people crossing the road, walking, and each one of them is a cop in their own nature. Chalte chalte, they'll stop the traffic and then they'll walk. There is somebody who finds a little gap and parks his two-wheeler right in that gap. What precision that has to be. Coming from Indian mindset, the first time I took somebody's car right on Frankfurt, we didn't have 3 lanes then, we had only 2 lanes. So there were 2 cars, one going for the the left side, one going for the right side, 2 cars already there waiting for the signal. And I took the car right on the middle, I was going to squeeze it right in between. The lady there, she screamed, "Swamiji, either this side or that side, not in between." Amma, don't worry, I can very easily manage to squeeze in between. You may be able to squeeze. If a cop sees us, we will be squeezed. Please put it on one side. Thank goodness she realized what my intentions were before even I got too close. I got to one side. The traffic has certain regulations. In here there are certain rules, there are certain rules. I cannot come and say, I am Indian. I drive only left side. जिसको जो करना है करने दो. You are in America, you learn different ways of that system and start adapting yourself to that system. Because the regulations demand thus. Diksha regulations. And following this Diksha is for what? Or understanding of this Diksha is for what? To perform the act, like understanding the traffic rules so that we can drive safely. Similarly, taking this Diksha is to perform Yajna. Yajna bhava karma, wherein Atmano mokshaya jagat hitaya cha. Understand this sutra very well. Whatever effort that I am putting, it should be in such a way that I become the cause for balance in the world outside, which in turn helps me liberate myself from all my limitations. Atmano mokshaya jagat hitaya cha. Now once this attitude is learnt, selfishness automatically can be deleted from the system. Yajnaha, Kratavaha, Dakshinaha and various other ceremonies including sacrificial gifts. Dakshina. Whenever we perform puja, at the end, along with the tambula is the betel leaf, 2 bananas, betel nut with dakshina. Why dakshina? Why does God require dakshina? It is not that God requires dakshina. See, if you may remember, whenever you visited your grandparents or somebody, when you are leaving, they would always, your parents would have always objected. So they very secretly come and silently put it in your pocket. It is not something big money or big amount that they are giving, but the act to give. From here to when you go in your train, ice cream khalina. Some $5, $10. And we used to love going to these villages or different towns where our relatives were, because every house $5, $10. By the time we came back, we had enough money for the entire year to buy our cricket balls. How many balls do you require? That many windows. You hit the ball and it goes into somebody's house through the window pane. Do you think they are going to give it back? So the better deal is to buy another one. So we had made enough vasool. Dakshina, the return gift. Or when the priests and others who perform, they have to be also given generously dakshina. Samvatsaraha yajamanascha lokaha. Various different kinds of actions to be performed, their timings, their various specifications where they have to be performed is also expressed or mentioned by that Virata Purusha. Somewhere in Rig Veda, I was surprised with the mantra. I didn't understand it in the beginning because they were saying, perform this yaga continuously at such a place wherein you have sun for 24 hours for 41 days. Mandala Paryanta. It is not even possible. What kind of mantra is this? So I took it to somebody that I knew very well. So he looked at it and I said, there is one place on earth wherein you get this kind of weather, this kind of specification. You know where? The Arctic Circle. Wherein you have sun for 40 days, I think 40 or 41 days, 24 hours the sun never sets. So my instant gaping, wide mouthed question was, you mean to say that these people travelled all the way to the Arctic Circle to perform such things? I said yes. So there are mantras, there are processes that have been given with not just how to do it, where to do it, what time to do it, what specifications to be followed. Yajamanascha, and who is qualified for performing it? I keep giving this simple example. Dasharatha performed Putra Kameshti Yaga. Why? Because he was qualified. If I call for all the priests in Dallas area and say, chalo, लेट्स डू पुत्र कामेष्टि याग, डंडा लेके मंगाएंगे मुझे. Why? To perform putra kameshti, the only one who is qualified to perform is a grihastha. In my earlier station, I was not qualified. Now in this station, I am still not qualified. There are qualifications who can be the yajamana. There are certain things for which only a grihastha can perform. There are certain things only a sannyasi can perform. For example, Viraja Homa. Viraja Homa is the last Homa that a person entering sannyasa does, and nobody else can do it. Why? You are not qualified. Gayatri mantra, Gayatri upasana can be done by a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha. Sannyasi is not qualified. So yajamana, who is the adhikara for what, is also specified. And the actions are purified. Pavate yatra suryah. A very potent statement, okay? When are our actions purified? When they are performed during the blazing sun. Meaning, don't be lethargic during daytimes. As soon as the sun, the first light hits the horizon, wake up and till the last ray of the sun in the evening, work in the presence of the light. Why? Surya is called the most efficient purifier. He purifies even the karma. He is the one who inspires us into activity and also inspires us to grow in freedom. Freedom in what? Freedom not from the actions but in the actions. Pavate yatra suryaha. The sequence is not yet done. There is a few more shlokas, a few more mantras. Tasmacha deva bahudha samprasutaha sadhya manushyaha pashavo vayamsi pranapanau vrihiyavau tapascha shraddha satyam brahmacharyam vidhischa. From that Virata came all these different expressions of gods. From that one elected form of government came different bodies which sustain, support and express the government's functionality. Wherever you invoke in that country. In US, where is the government? It is sarvavyapi. Anywhere that can be claimed as US in those 50 states. 50, right? In those 50 states, government can be invoked. Meaning, sitting here, if I call 911, can I invoke emergency services? Can I invoke protective services? Can I invoke medical services? Isn't it the government which is invoked through various channels? Is governed maybe from Washington DC, but it is spread across. evenly. And anybody with whatever kind of requirement can invoke that government in that form. Similarly, this Paramatma through the Virata expresses as different devas. One thing that we don't want in life is obstacles. So, the first thing that we start is Vighna Vinashaka Puja, worshipping Lord Ganesha. We are invoking the obstacle remover. He is not just the obstacle remover, he is Vighna Raja also. He is a king of obstacle maker. Why would God create obstacles? If He has to protect us, and He has sent enough information through well-wishers or various accounts that do not perform this or do perform this, whatever may be the instruction, and we vehemently resist. So, what does He do? He will provide enough blocks in life, stumbling blocks, to make sure that we fall in the right place. As much as He can remove obstacles, He can create obstacles also. You are supposed to eat that food, and somebody passing by, their purse hit. In US it has happened quite number of times. I was at a restaurant and this fellow taking a pitcher of lime juice or whatever, lime tea, slips and directly Abhishek, a ting, not once, 2-3 times, slips, falls. So, somebody's purse hit, the entire plate full of food fell down, only to realize that it was poisoned. So, was that obstacle a good one or a bad one? At that time when it fell, it looked bad, but when we realized what it was, we felt good. Vighna Raja is invoked. So, various formats that Paramatma can be invoked as. Vividhaha Devataha, he expresses as different forms of gods, different celestial beings that he is expressed as, different kinds of manushyas, different kinds of human forms. Pashavaha, different kinds of cattle and animals. Vayamsi, the birds. It was very recent, I don't know if I have shared this. Very recently I realized that in German airline is called Lufthansa, but the actual word comes from Lufthansa. Hansa is, if you have seen their emblem, that is also a swan, a flying swan, Lufthansa. The reason I just came is because Vayamsi, I saw birds. He expresses as different kinds of birds. The most sacred, Hamsa, to the crow. All forms of birds. Prana Apana, the very breath that we breathe in and exhale, the grains that we survive on, Vrihi Yavau, corn and barley. Corn and barley was the staple diet then. in the fresh format. Vrihi above. Tapascha, he also expresses as tapa, shraddha, satyam, brahmacharya, vidhischa. All the noble qualities, when they strike in our intellect with conviction, it is the expression of that Paramatma in this intellect. Whenever there is a noble thought, I felt really good to share few pennies, to share few rupees. Once I was at a grocery, not a grocery store, a gas station. I was late at night, and this gas station fellow, he knows me, so he said, will you hold the fort for a while? I don't know what you mean by that, but if you want me to stay here, I will. So he quickly ran across the road, and there was this girl sitting alone. So he fetched her. He said, I have been seeing this girl sitting there for almost 2 hours. So he said, I have been seeing you, can I help you? He saw that just from the gas station. And I am waiting for my parents to pick me up. The bus would only come so far. From here, I have to be dropped, I have to be taken home. I have been waiting for my parents and I don't have a phone. So he gave the gas station phone for her to call. And then out of his goodness of his heart, he gave her something to eat, to munch on, and a Coke. He said, that's on the house, take it. And looking at him go out, reach out and help that little girl. There were 2-3 customers who saw this, and they instead tipped him. You did a good job, you inspired us to do something good for you. So keep the change. Whenever there is that noble thought that sparks in our head, it is the expression of that Paramatma. But then we corrupt it by saying, आज मैंने इतना अच्छा काम किया. Paramatma है धत तेरी. Such a noble opportunity given, उसको भी corrupt कर दिया. So tapaha, shraddha, satyam, brahmacharya, vidhischa, all these kinds of vidhis, when they are inspiring into one's own heart, it is the expression of that Paramatma. Tomorrow we have one more surprise, because we may question, is it only the noble thoughts that are Paramatma? What about all the bad thoughts? Can we give it to him? It is the Paramatma who is inspiring me to do it. So that we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Shant Shant Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.